Hi friends, welcome to this segment of a video series which is based on a moral story. Should Wizard Hit Mommy? The story is written by John Updike. Initially, so let's have some more information about the author, about the writer, John Updike. John Hoyer Updike was born on March 18th, 1932, and he passed away on 27th January 2009. He was an American novelist, poet, short story writer, art critic, and literary critic, one of the only three writers to win the Pulitzer Prize for fiction more than once. Updike published more than 20 novels, more than a dozen short story collections, as well as uh, poetry, art, literary criticism, and children's books during this career. John Hoyer Updike was a very versatile author, and he was very famous literary person who was awarded with very prestigious prizes for his literary contribution. Let's have introduction of the lesson of the story. Should Mommy Hit the Wizard? Before you read, see here, before you turn to the original story, so here is a story about the world view of a little child and the difficult moral question she raises during the story session with her father. So this story deals a moral. This moral is that's related to the world view of a little child, and this is very famous world view of little children. So this story is based on a moral. The story revolves around Jack, who is a father of two kids, Joan and Bobby. His wife, Claire, she was carrying their third child. Jack had a habit of telling his daughter Jo a story every evening and on Saturday afternoon naps. This time, when he was telling her a story, she interrupted him and asked him questions whenever she feels that the things that are being told are not right. So Jack now finds himself in a fix and doesn't know how to resolve Joe's questions. Parents feel that children should do or think exactly what they are told. They should believe whatever they are told by their parents. But is this the right attitude? This moral question is raised by the story and left to the reader to decide what should be done. Whether children should follow their own brain, their own calculation, their own thinking process, or blindly they should follow parents' instruction, or uh, blindly they should just obey parents' norms or parents' thinking line, or should they follow parents' viewpoint? So, this left to the reader to decide what should be done. After Joe's question, Jack was fumbled and he didn't know how to resolve Joe's question. Usually, parents feel that children should do or think exactly what they are told. They should believe whatever they are told by their parents. But is this right attitude? Now, let's know about the various characters which are referred in this story. The first foremost character, that's a Jack, who is a father. He is a loving, caretaker, and concerned father and a husband who tells stories every day. His daughter Jo. Jack is a very good person, and he has his own ideas. He loves his family a lot. So he is a loving and a caretaker and concerned father and husband of to the family. So he is fully dedicated to his family. The next character, that's Joan, also called Jo. She's Jack's 4-year-old intelligent, impatient, and inquisitive daughter. So she used to listen stories from her father Jack. She's very little, and she has okay curiosity about the various things. So she used to ask intelligent questions to her father. The next, that's Roger Skunk. Roger Skunk, he gets the wizard to give him a pleasant smell, but his mummy gets the change reverse. Roger Skunk is a character in the story which was told by Jack to her daughter Joan, and this character come in Jack's story. And next, that's a mommy. She's a Roger's mother who insisted on having her way with Roger by forcing him to follow tradition. Dear students, now let's turn towards the story. Should mommy hit the wizard? Every evening and on Saturday afternoon naps, Father Jack used to tell his daughter a bedtime story. This habit started when Joe was 2 years old, and now that Joe was 4 years old, Jack did not have any creative ideas for stories. Most of the stories that he used to tell Joe revolved around the same plot concerning an animal named Roger. In every story, Roger used to be a different animal with some kind of a problem. Then Roger would go to this wise owl to take help, who would in turn tell him to go to the wizard. Then Roger would take his problem to the wizard, who would help him in exchange of some money, mostly a bit more than that Roger had with him. After helping him, the wizard would help him in exchange for some money. After helping him, the wizard would ask him to go to a certain place to fetch some more money, and Roger would do exactly like that. Then, after paying the wizard, Roger would go back, and all the other animals would start playing with him. He would be very happy, and later he would return home just in time to wait for his father, who would be returning from Boston by train. Jack described their supper, and the story was over. Working his way through this scheme was especially fatiguing on. Okay, so Jack had now started getting tired of this daily routine because he had run out of ideas for the stories. Also, Joe didn't sleep listening to the story anymore. He had started feeling that the practice was just a waste of time and there was no point doing it. He also noticed that Joe had started growing big and her legs now stretched halfway down the bed when she snuggled in for her story. With all the light coming in from the window over her face that was deep in the pillow, Jack knew that she wasn't be sleeping soon. Bobby, her baby brother, who was 2 years old, was already sleeping with his bottle in the mouth. When Jack asked to the to that who should the story be about that day, she thought for a while and replied that she wanted it to be of a skunk. Jack then thought that she must have heard about this animal in nursery school and also got enthusiastic as she had a new hero of this story. All right, he said, and he started. The story started with the Roger skunk living in the forest. Jack said that Roger smelled bad. None of the other animals in the forest liked to play with him. All the other animals would start running away whenever he would go out to play. At this moment, Jack was recollecting about certain humiliations that he had faced during his childhood for being foul smelling. Then Joe asked whether Roger should see the wise owl. Jack was sitting beside her and noticed that Joe was getting anxious with the story and felt pleased with it. He did not want to hurry. So then he had faced during his childhood for being false smelling. He did not want to hurry and wanted to make the story more intense as he wanted to convey a message through it. Suddenly, Jack heard a voice downstairs of a chair being pulled and realized that he must go down to help his wife paint the living room, but had to continue with the story as Joe had not slept yet. So Jack continued that Roger Skunk was sad, and as he walked, he came across a tree where he saw the wise owl. The skunk then shared his problem with the wise owl, and owl started thinking of how he could help the little skunk. Then Joe shouted enthusiastically that the wise owl would ask him to go to the wizard as she had known about the basic plot of the stories her dad used to tell her. Jack got a bit irritated and okay, so then he continued with the story that Owl told Roger to go see the wizard for his problem. Then Joe interrupted him and asked if the magic spells that wizards use were real. Then Joe asked this question. Jack realized that Joe was coming into the reality phase and had started asking questions about the things her parents used to tell her. He noticed that she no longer believed her parents blindly and was curious about everything that was told to her. Joe repeated her question, to which Jack replied that the spells were real in the stories. He continued with his story that the skunk went through the way the wise owl, and then Jack, uh, okay, rapped on the window still. Jack continued with his story that the skunk went through the way the wise owl had asked him to go and reached a white house and knocked on the door. To make the sound effect of how the skunk knocked the door, Jack knocked on the window sill and Joe was thrilled. Jack continued that the old man with a long white beard and a blue pointed hat came out. Then Jack made his favorite sound effect and continued that Wizard asked Roger what he wanted, that he had a very bad body odor. Then to this, Roger replied that he knew that he smelled bad and told him that all the other animals ran away from him. He also told the wizard that the wise owl had told him that he could help him. Then the old man replied that maybe he could and asked Roger Skunk to follow him inside and not to get too close. Then Jack describes how the house was of wizard. The wizard was really okay, dirty from inside. Wizard's house was dirty from inside. Then Jack describes how the house was okay, wizard really inside. He did not have a cleaning lady, to which Joe asked that why was it so. He then replied that because he was a very old man and also a wizard, he did not require any cleaning lady. Then Joe again interrupted and asked that what would the wizard die, to which again Jack replied that wizards never die. Then the wizard started looking out for something and took out an old stick called the magic wand. He asked Roger what he wanted to smell like, and he replied that he wished to smell like roses. So Roger replied that he wished to smell like roses. He did not want to smell foul smell, bad smell. Joe was happy about the fact that he wanted to smell like a rose. Then Jack said that the magical words. Jack said so. He then Jack said the magical words in the voice of a wizard. He paused as a rapt expression widened out from his daughter's nostrils, forcing her eyebrows up and her lower lip down in the wide, noiseless grin and expression. Then he lifts the face that his daughter made to that of his wife. She made such a face when she pretended to be enjoying a cocktail party. Then he continues that the whole house of the wizard was filled with the fragrance of roses. By mistake, he changed the animal to fish. Joe corrected him and he said it was really silly on his part to call him a fish in place of a skunk. Just then, Jack got a bit annoyed with Joe's expressions, and suddenly he heard some furniture rumbling downstairs. He realized that Claire shouldn't be moving heavy things, and as she was 6 months pregnant and they were going to have their third baby, then the wizard tell Roger to go to the end of the lane and turn around 3 times, and when he would look in the magic well he would find 3 more coins. Then Roger did exactly how he was told and got the extra money. He then gave the money to the wizard and ran back to the woods where everybody gathered around him because he smelled so good. He was smelling of a rose. So there was no bad smell, there was no foul smell with Roger. So Roger was of having very fine smell of roses. So he felt so good, so fine, so wonderful. Then they all played a lot of games and enjoyed themselves. Roger played a lot of games and enjoyed with his friends, with other boys and girls. As it was getting dark, all the animals ran back to their mummies. So he played a lot with his other animals, with his fellow animals, and then after enjoying a lot with other fellow animals, as it was getting dark, all the animals they ran back to their mummies. Now Roger was very happy as there was no any bad and foul smell with him, so he was very relaxed. Dear students, in the concluding part of this first series or the first episode of this video lecture, so let's have more information about the prime characters. As already I have explained you about the characters in the initially, but in the concluding part, you might be understanding the prime characters. That's why here are some of the important points, viewpoints related to the characters. The first character, that's Jack, who is a father. Already I have told how he is a loving and concerned father and husband who used to tell stories to his daughter Joe. Then Joan, she is called Joe also. A short form can be used. She's a little daughter of Jack, very intelligent, curious about a lot of things, and used to ask intelligent questions to her father. Then Roger Skunk, an animal. he gets a wizard to give him a pleasant smell, but his mummy gets the change reverse. We'll understand in the second part, the further story, the next part of the story, and mummy, Roger Skunk's money. Thank a lot for watching this video lecture. Stay tuned with the second part of this story. Thank a lot.